This week on his radio show, Howard Stern defended wokeism, saying it's a compliment when someone calls him woke. Listen.
If woke means I can't get behind Trump, which is what I think it means, or that I support people who want to be transgender, or I'm for the vaccine, dude, call me woke as you want. I'm not for stupidity, but I am woke, motherfucker, and I love it.
Oh dear, he swore. He swore that'll win over the woke. He's a regular Huey Newton of the Hamptons.
Well, I watch, I know some of them, and like Howard, I was on Howard Stern's show as much as anybody, and
yeah.
he was great at that time, and then he went woke.
Yeah.
And since he's gone woke, his rating.
Howard Stern, once the fearless king of shock radio, has taken a surprising turn toward a more toned-down and mainstream persona, a shift that hasn't gone unnoticed. Critics like GregGutfeld and Donald Trump have been quick to react, with Gutfeld mocking Stern's transformation through sharp wit and Trump adding his usual blunt humor. What was once bold and controversial now feels, too many, like carefully packaged content. Is Stern evolving with the times, or has he lost the edge that made him a legend? The debate is loud, and the commentary feels more like a roast than a review. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more on the changing faces of media.
Weird, because he criticizes Trump for dividing the country, and then he says he hates his supporters, so he's not learning from his own analysis. I think he might have turned into the thing he hated. He needs to go back and watch the movie Private Parts and focus on how he portrayed Don Imus, because he's kind of turned into Don Imus in a way. It's a mix of ego and resentment.
Howard Stern, he's a weak guy. He's weak. He's going, what about, It was so ridiculous. Even she was embarrassed. It was like soft.
Howard Stern, once hailed as the fearless king of shock radio, has taken a surprising turn toward a more subdued and mainstream persona, a transformation that hasn't gone unnoticed. Critics like GregGutfeld and Donald Trump have been quick to weigh in, with Gutfeld using sharp satire to highlight the shift, and Trump offering his trademark blunt commentary. What was once bold and unfiltered now feels, too many, like carefully curated content. Is Stern evolving with the times? Or has he lost the rebellious edge that made him a legend? The debate continues to grow, and the commentary feels more like a public roast than genuine critique. Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights into the changing faces of modern media. Let me know if you want this style.
But that's how Stern can call snacking with celebs at a fancy restaurant exhausting. Exhausting. Like he finished the overnight shift in a coal mine. Or hearing Kat talk about her pets.
It's fair.
But I get it, life is tough, especially when you've been cut off from the world for 2 years in a $20 million beach house. I mean, you have no idea how tiring it is walking all the way from the wine cellar to the tennis court and back.
GregGutfeld didn't need a long monologue to call out the current version of Howard Stern, just a metaphorical mirror. The contrast between who Stern used to be and what he represents now says more than any punchline could. It doesn't feel like growth. It feels like a full system reboot running on fear, caution, and a polished public image. Then there's Donald Trump, never one for subtlety, delivering his critique like a verbal sledgehammer, loud, blunt, and impossible to ignore. Watching Trump comment on Stern today is like seeing a former rock star smirk at a wedding DJ, not angry, just genuinely confused by the change. The message: this isn't the Howard they remember. And they're not quite sure who this new version is trying to be.
Opposite of woke to me is asleep, and I think I'm awake. This must have gotten Trump all charged up, because at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, technically Sunday morning, he starts tweeting out, Howard Stern is a broken loser, jerk off, not loyal, the usual, tirade. And I thought to myself, I'll tell you my thought on it was, what? My thought was, what?
GregGutfeld didn't need a long monologue to call out the current version of Howard Stern, just a metaphorical mirror. The contrast between who Stern used to be and who he's become speaks louder than any joke. It doesn't come across as evolution. It feels like a full system reboot powered by fear, caution, and a carefully crafted public image. Then there's Donald Trump, never known for subtlety, stepping in with his signature bluntness, more like a verbal sledgehammer than a critique. Watching Trump reference Stern today is like seeing a rock star smirk at a wedding DJ, not angry, just baffled by the downgrade. The message is clear. This isn't the Howard they once knew, and no one seems certain who this new version is trying to be.
Stern hit a chic restaurant in NYC with a crew of A-listers, including Jimmy Kimmel, Jennifer Aniston, Jon Hamm, Justin Theroux, Jason Bateman. I was not invited. I guess because my first name doesn't begin with the letter J.
GregGutfeld didn't need a long monologue to call out the current version of Howard Stern, just a metaphorical mirror. The contrast between who Stern used to be and who he's become speaks louder than any joke. It doesn't come across as evolution, it feels like a full system reboot powered by fear, caution, and a carefully crafted public image. Then there's Donald Trump, never known for subtlety, stepping in with his signature bluntness, more like a verbal sledgehammer than a critique. Watching Trump reference Stern today is like seeing a rock star smirk at a wedding DJ, not angry, just baffled by the downgrade. The message is clear. This isn't the Howard they once knew, and no one seems certain who this new version is trying to be.
I knew him very well. I was on the show many times. I used to think he was good. Then I dropped him, and I dropped him like a dog. And his ratings are very challenged. Very challenged.
To be fair, Howard Stern probably does fear backlash these days, but the Howard of old wouldn't have cared. That version would have dared critics to come at him live on air. Today's Stern, though, feels like he's pre-apologizing for jokes he hasn't even told yet. It's not evolution. It's reverse growth, like Benjamin Button's PR arc. Meanwhile, Trump treats Stern's decline the way a lion might look at a declawed cat, pretending to roar. He doesn't even have to say much. Just being in the same news cycle is enough to send Stern into a carefully worded panic. Stern now seems so terrified of offending anyone that he probably wouldn't toast bread without checking with the gluten-free lobby. GregGutfeld, on the other hand, delivers his takedown with the smug confidence of an Ivy League professor and the timing of a seasoned barstool philosopher. He doesn't just call Stern out for being fake, he calls him out for being boring, which, in media, might be worse than being dishonest. At least a liar keeps the audience guessing. Stern, at this point, feels like a rerun of his own missteps. Watching a man who once stood for unfiltered rebellion, now playing hall monitor for internet morality is almost sad. He used to bulldoze boundaries, now he's busy knitting sweaters for them.
So vote for that wall over there.
Well, he's half right. We do need a wall. To keep out gang members, fentanyl dealers, human traffickers, and Anna Navarro. What's funny, though, is that Stern actually thought that was a compliment. Stern has become such a wussified sycophant, he doesn't realize that telling Kamala that he'd vote for a wall is telling her that he knows she's as dumb as one.
To be fair, Howard Stern probably does fear backlash these days, but the Howard of old wouldn't have flinched. That guy would have dared his critics to come after him, live on air. Today's Stern, though, seems like he's pre-apologizing for jokes he hasn't even made. It's not evolution, it's reverse growth, like watching Benjamin Button rewrite his public image in slow motion. Meanwhile, Trump treats Stern's decline the way a lion might look at a declawed cat pretending to roar. He doesn't need to say much, just being in the same news cycle is enough to send Stern into a carefully managed panic. Stern now seems so afraid of offending anyone that he probably wouldn't toast bread without checking if the gluten-free lobby approves. GregGutfeld, armed with the smugness of an Ivy League professor and the timing of a barstool philosopher, tears into Stern's new persona with ease. He doesn't just call him fake, he calls him boring, which, in media, might be the ultimate sin. At least a liar keeps people guessing. But Stern, he's become a rerun of his own regrets. Watching someone who once stood for unfiltered rebellion now play moral hall monitor is almost tragic. He didn't just stop pushing boundaries. He's now busy knitting sweaters for them.
Kat, I find that his definition of wokeism is very simplistic. I mean, it's like, it's not about COVID jabs.
I didn't get that either. He was like, I love the vaccine, I'm woke.
It's not unlike Howard Stern. I mean, talk about a transition. On Tuesday, he conducted an interview with Kamala Harris that was so simpering and feminine, I got my period while listening to it.
The irony is that Howard Stern still sees himself as a rebel. He seems to think that just saying "I used to be wild" earns him credibility, like a guy in a leather jacket at a retirement home. Still telling war stories no one remembers. Asking for. Meanwhile, GregGutfeld roasts him with surgical precision, scalpel in one hand, punchline in the other. And why hold back? Stern practically writes his own satire now. The man who once led uncensored radio now runs every thought through a filter before it hits the mic. It's like a punk band reuniting just to play elevator music. Familiar faces, but the fire's long gone. Trump, as amused as ever, just shrugs. Stern's so-called evolution doesn't challenge him, it entertains him. It's watching someone cling to relevance while leaving behind everything that once made them interesting. Trump could sneeze and stir more controversy than an entire month of Howard's sanitized monologues. And the ratings. Once the gold standard for shock jocks, now reduced to a PowerPoint slide everyone skips. Stern didn't lose his audience, they grew up and saw through the act. He didn't get canceled. He traded authenticity for applause from celebrity circles and better Yelp reviews from Hollywood friends.
When I watch them on Saturday Night Live with the where they have Maya Rudolph playing you, I hate it. I don't want you being made fun of.
Oh my God.
There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now, I mean, as America, land of the free, home of the brave, I think it's literally on the line.
So a guy who's supposed to be funny for a living now claims her candidacy is too important to joke about. This is a guy who once joked right after the Columbine massacre that the killers should have raped the students before killing them. Not that I like that. Incredibly brave to take this stance after you've made $300-400 million not being woke, right? Loving Donald Trump, exploiting the mentally ill, wearing blackface. Look at the crop of woke comments, whether it's Stern or Jimmy Kimmel, his BFF, Sarah Silverman, Joy Behar, Michael Ian Black. What do they all have in common? They wore blackface. And then they went woke. It's not a chicken or egg thing there. You know what order it came. So I call this BFR. It's blackface reparations. There's nothing in Stern's previous career that could withstand this modern witch hunt that he now embraces. Really had an exhausting weekend. Emotionally, physically. For the first time in 2 years, I ventured out of the house. Now, maybe he's exaggerating. We all do that. In fact, the more successful you get in media, the more exhausting the easiest things become. He swore that'll win over the woke. He's a regular Huey Newton of the Hamptons. Here's my theory. Wokeism is a contagion. Stern got it from Jimmy Kimmel, his new best friend, and Kimmel got it from his wife, and his wife got it from where you get all infections. A toilet.
GregGutfeld brings it home with the kind of sharp comedy that stings because it's true. He doesn't just mock Howard Stern's fall, he points to the silence it left behind. When one of the loudest voices in media starts whispering, it's not just disappointing, it's deafening. Stern used to challenge everything. Now he double-checks the script. The man once defined by unpredictability has become one of the most predictable figures in broadcasting. You can practically time his panic like clockwork, and it's not just in his voice, it's in every choice he makes. Surrounded by yes-men, echo chambers, and cozy media handshakes. Stern doesn't aim to provoke anymore, he aims to blend in. And for someone who once lived to stand out, that's the saddest transformation of all. Trump, meanwhile, doesn't flinch. What could Howard possibly say to shake him? A lecture from today's Stern would land like a balloon trying to intimidate a tank. One burst of unfiltered truth, and Howard drifts off, clutching his vintage ego like a life raft. The old Howard would have torched the stage and stood in the fire. The new Howard, he's checking with producers just to see if he's allowed to be bold. This isn't transformation, it's a full erasure of character.